Welcome back to Creating Inner Beauty. Today we're going to talk all about self-love, why it's important, and how it's the key to your healing, to your spiritual journey, and to manifestation. If you don't know me, I'm Liz, and I'm an intuitive coach and healer for conscious and spiritual women. And I love helping women heal, step into their confidence, power, and unique intuitive abilities, and create soul-aligned lives that they love. And really, self-love is the key to this whole process. But let's talk about what it is and why it's important and how it's going to help you create a life that you love. So what is self-love? In my opinion, and the way that I look at it, is that self-love is sort of a combination of feelings. First, it's the ability to feel that you are worthy, that you are completely divinely worthy at a fundamental core level. Secondly, it's about having the ability to have self-acceptance and self-compassion. So looking at all of the different parts of yourself and being able to have a loving and accepting feeling toward them. And then when you go through life, when you make mistakes, when you have a challenge, being able to give yourself compassion and empathy and kind of support yourself through any of those things until you make it to the other side. So an analogy I really like to use to get people to tune into what is that feeling of self-love is, let's start thinking about how you feel toward a loved one, someone in your life that in your eyes you will always care for and can really do no wrong. Yeah, maybe they annoy you, maybe they irritate you sometimes, that kind of thing, but you know that you will always be there for them, you'll always be supporting them. You are their like ride or die person, right? It is having that type of feeling for yourself, being able to internalize that and give yourself that emotional experience. To me, that is what self-love is. Now let's talk about why that is important on your healing journey, your manifestation journey, and your spiritual journey, all of the things, right? So we come from the premise, at least I come from the premise, I believe that we as human beings are, our souls are a piece of the divine that has come into our human body to have this experience on earth, right? And so what is the divine? The divine to me is the energy of complete unconditional love. And so if we were to be able to come, into earth as babies and stay completely connected to who and what we are as a soul, we would be in a constant state of self-love as well as love for other people, right? Our soul is the essence of love. However, unfortunately, when we come into our human experience, what happens is we slowly, in different ways, start to become disconnected from that who we are on that soul level. And that happens through the experience of being a human and everything that unfolds, right? The challenges we go through as little babies, feeling, hungry and wet and frustrated. And then as children, things that we might experience or internalize about ourselves that are not fundamentally true. Stories we are told around who we are, what's expected of us, how we should feel, all of that stuff. And then as we go through adulthood, and we have other challenging experiences, oftentimes we get wounds that bring up fear, that bring up disconnect, that bring up shame, guilt, etc. So our experience as humans often has things within it that disconnect us from that energy of love. So when we start healing and we start healing those wounds and releasing those things that are not the truth of who we are, we start to come back to that energy of love that is fundamentally inside of us that we started with, right? So the more you heal, the more love for yourself that you have, and the more you are coming back to who you are as a soul. That's why you start to feel better and better as you heal more and more and feel that relationship with yourself strengthen, right? And then how does that translate into manifestation? So manifestation is the process of co-creating your reality with the universe. When your internal reality is more in that state of self-love, more in alignment with who you are as a soul, as opposed to the wounds you've experienced, the frustrations, the challenges, the limiting mindsets, all that stuff that we can gather in our human lives. When we're in alignment with who we are in that soul, which is that energy of love, then we can call in all of the things that we want to experience in our reality that resonate with us as a soul. When we are out of alignment with our soul, which means out of alignment with the energy of love, it is harder to call those things in. But when you start to have that self-love and come into that energy, it starts to magnetize all of those things that are right for you, that are joyful, that are full of love, etc. Right? So that's how that impacts the manifestation process. Also, like I mentioned in the beginning, self-love is partially a feeling of knowing you are completely worthy. And that is essential to the manifestation process. When you are desiring something, you have to believe that you are worthy of receiving it in order for it to come into you and for you to allow yourself to have it. So the more self-love you're in, the more self-worth you are in, the more you allow yourself to have the experiences that feel aligned and juicy and wonderful and joyful for you. So that's how all of those things connect with one another. Now, where does self-care come into this? Let me just take a moment to talk about that, because I think that sometimes there are some misunderstandings about that. Now, self-care is not exactly the same as self-love. You can be doing a lot of self-care activities, the things that we typically think about as self-care, pampering ourselves, taking baths, getting massages, doing our nails, doing our hair, all the good stuff, which I love. All good things, in my opinion. But you can be doing those things without having a feeling of self-love, and they feel kind of empty when you do. So just doing those activities isn't really equivalent to having self-love. However, when you have self-love, when you develop that deep appreciation for yourself, oftentimes what happens is the extension of that is wanting to care for yourself more and being willing to prioritize the things that make you feel happy and cared for and nourished and re-energized and all of that kind of good stuff. So self-care is really at its core an extension, an outer manifestation of your self-love. Rather than just what creates the self-love. Now, if you're having a difficult time coming into self-love, sometimes self-care is a nice little sort of entry point to self-love, where if you commit to those activities, you start to feel better, and then that starts to spiral into feeling better about yourself, and it can begin that process of self-love. So they're not the same things, but they are interrelated, and you can do both sides of it, the self-love work and the self-care love, to help them spiral positively together to really develop your relationship with yourself. So I hope that's helpful to think about. Now, let's talk about, before we end for today, how you can really start to cultivate a feeling of self-love for yourself. And I think for this piece of advice or guidance, I really want to go back and start with what I said earlier, which is to tap into that feeling you have for a loved one or for a best friend in your life, and start to take the perspective that you're going to treat yourself in that exact same way. So, assuming you treat your loved ones and your friends in a really good way. That is definitely the assumption we have to make here. So, it's starting to think about, how do I talk to my very best friend when she's having a challenge, with he or she is having a challenge? How do I support them? What words of encouragement do I give them? How would I describe them? Am I critical, or am I like supportive and positive? Starting to turn all those things toward yourself. If my best friend or my dearest loved one were to come to me and tell me I'm really burned out, I need a break, what should I do? What advice would I give them? Turn that toward yourself. What would I recommend for them if I really wished for them as much health and vitality and pleasure and joy? What are the things I would really recommend they do? Do them for myself. Turn them toward myself. That, I think, is really the key perspective shift that needs to happen to start you on your self-love journey. So it's all about treating yourself in a way that says, I love you and I want the best for you. So here's what I recommend you do and be in order to do that. Saying that whole dialogue to yourself and then acting accordingly. So I hope that makes sense. If you feel like you need more support on your self-love journey, on your healing journey, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information down below in the comments. Let me know, what are your challenges with self-love? What are the things that you struggle with? I'd love to be able to make some more videos on this topic that will help support you in specific challenges, so that we can move from being out of self-love into that energy of love, so you can create the life that you really want to experience. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more videos from me, and I'll love to see you in my next video. Have a wonderful day.